So the future of OpenAI's hardware division is building this. So they're going to go head to head with Apple, and they have Johnny Ive helping them out, and they're building what this device seems to be metal and resemble the shape of an eggstone. And I guess just stick it in your ear like that. NVIDIA is backing a company that is doing mathematical superintelligence, so we'll see where that goes and how that might work. So a bunch of top Chinese researchers got together for a long-form conversation about the future of AI, and I thought we'd summarize it just to see if it's kind of different than the future we cover all the time on this channel, which is more English and Western based. We'll look into why AI trained to deliberately make bad code also becomes bad at unrelated tasks and why that matters. And of course, I'll leave you with an article about AI-based systems being able in real time, I kid you not, detect horse whips. I don't know. Do we need AI for this? We are getting close. Check that out. 29.
That's crazy. Doesn't that make you understand that it's not AI?
5,000 subscribers. Can't wait to hit that 30 mark. So just check, make sure you're subscribed. Sometimes you think you are and you're not. I would appreciate it. All right, well, this is a fun project. Here is what it looks like inside of the little workers inside of Claude Code as they work to help Ethan Mollick achieve whatever his goals are. So he confirms that this is 100% Claude Code. He only gave it a few instructions and it even made the little pixel graphics and animations. I think it's going to be really interesting to have AI do things for us and then give it visual interfaces that are much more like the real world that we're in to understand.
Like, isn't that the equivalent of having a progress bar and just different messages? You see, people just because they see like human shapes and they lend so many human properties to these LLM models. It's so crazy. That's a shame.
How it's talking to itself. Like I read through on deep research all these fascinating things where it like generates some information and then it reads the information and it's like this probably wouldn't make sense to the user. I'm going to go try something else. But it would be fun to see something more like VO in the future where it's actually generating people having conversations, working through problems, understanding much more intuitively how something evolved into.
Honestly, what is the point? What's the point of that? That is why we got the black box, because people don't care about really understanding, they care about the result. This whole model, the way the concept that it's based on, that makes it so that it works the way it works, inherently makes it so that we do not care what's inside. If we cared enough, we wouldn't have made it that way. Maybe it wouldn't work the same. But these are just representations for yourself. So we can interact and interpret information from what you see. But really, what's the point? If you ask something and you get the result, you really need to see two fake people talking to themselves. It is still the same person. I feel like this is the type of person that would feel good in therapy with a sock puppet.
Its final product in a way that normally a human and a group of humans working together would have. You can imagine new sub agents getting hired by the company and then messing up and getting fired, and new ones come in, and that would be the equivalent of it trying and then saying this isn't the right thing and then trying something else.
Like, what was the point of that? The computing that is going to take is just going to be a load that is unnecessary.
All right, let's move on to some leaks about what Foxconn is up to, the gigantic company that builds all.
Yeah, so there's two things, I guess. Now there's the pencil shaped device that was supposed to have cameras and a microphone and a speaker. Here there's the OpenAI to go. I mean, these are the things that OpenAI has entangled themselves with to ensure as much as possible that they're going to be able to get government subsidies afterward. They're going to say we can't fail because look, if we fail, this is going to crash, this is going to crash. You have to make it so that we get the
all
subsidies.
of the iPhones in the US. Chinese company also now works for OpenAI. They have a project, and here's what we know about it. So it's now confirmed to be a special audio product to replace AirPods, internally codenamed Sweet Pea. You know, the thought of like, can the iPhone be replaced? Can everything except just one little thing in your ear, kind of like the way the movie Her envisioned?
Like, already, first thing first, not everybody likes like bone conducting technology. Eh, There's already a standard you want people to derive from that form factor. You're already asking, no way. Foxconn has been told to prepare for a total of 5 devices by Q4 2028. Jesus. I don't know. I don't know. The iPad was supposed to be the replacement of laptop computers. And for some people, it was. And for most people, it wasn't. That's why you have two different markets. You have one for iPads and you have one for laptops. You're asking people to let go of what to use that? And you're asking people to use a new type of weird, odd device? It's probably not going to happen.
Working with AI be the ultimate form factor? Maybe the glasses and the single earpiece are going to be, the majority of what AI looks like over the next 15 years. I mean, there's some arguments for not staring down at the screen all the time. There's some arguments for having both of your hands free. I suppose if the glasses and this little eggstone thing in your ear, this earbud for lack of a better word, would have cameras seeing the environment around you and could talk to you in the way a human could, maybe that would be. You just say bring up something, and then the screen in front of your eye would change. And then if you wanted to just see through it like a clear lens, that would be another, way to just have an effortless form factor. So inside the egg stone, there are two pills who are removed and rest behind the ear like the image above. The main processor targets a 2 nanometer smartphone style chip. A custom chip is being developed to allow the device to replace iPhone actions by commanding Siri. And this commenter, Hendrik Johansson, says, if you wear OpenAI audio devices in public, do you have to alert everyone in your vicinity that you're collecting all of their conversations? Is it soundproof?
Well, it really depends where you are because there are some places where this is a one party consent, so you don't really need that. But yeah, that's pretty weird. Does the intention differentiate um, if you have to do it or not? So if you're not doing to record the conversation, but just to have your device listen to you, would that make it okay?
I mean, the answer is no. I think we're all getting everything collected all the time. Oh, is that? What is that? Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what it's going to look like. That with a camera on it. Let me know in the comments how excited you are for that device. See if you feel like it's going to be the revolution that they say it is. All right, next up, let's talk about NVIDIA's backing of Harmonic AI. This is kind of an interesting company. Their goal is mathematical superintelligence. And they're developing a model called Aristotle. This is a next generation AI engine focused on formal math reasoning. And from the ground up, they're trying to make it so it doesn't hallucinate. They're eliminating hallucinations by translating math problems from natural language into computer verifiable proofs. And then they're going to build up everything from there. So there should be no kind of weaknesses in the entire build up process. And that
But by definition, because people do things and people make mistakes, there's still it is impossible for this to be perfect in that way. So this is probably a foolish pursuit.
is how they're going to try to scale to mathematical superintelligence. They aim to build an AI with reasoning capabilities that rival or exceed humans. And it was this kind of a method that helped win the gold medal level performance in the 2025 International Mathematical Olympiad. So it's
How people do not see that shit. It was a mathematical model trained on mathematical models. And it did good at a mathematical Olympiad. Uh,
seems like there's strong reason why you would want to take results on verifiable code generation benchmarks and then scale them up into like a full-on super intelligent product that's general. And I'm actually all for it because it gives us a better I think a better understanding. Like we've seen the RAG models where you're kind of you're using LMs, but you're also like referencing data to try to keep ground truth states. But yeah, if you build the whole thing up in a mathematical way, then maybe we get a better way to kind of probe these devices, these outputs to see where things actually happen.
I'm so sorry, but everything's mathematical by definition. Everything's mathematical. So if you have a association that is mathematical, it is binary. Is it this or not, or this or that? It is mathematical. So it's not like they're doing something really new. I think they're just switching up like the training data. Let's see if this is gonna pay off.
And that matters for everyone because reducing or eliminating hallucinations in AI could transform how we use it in critical real world applications. Things obviously scientific research and mathematics, but engineering in all sorts of ways, legal contracts, medical diagnoses, a lot of these things, yeah, you don't even want any error. You want the whole thing, but even like self driving, it feels maybe the way we go about it isn't right. Like everything should be verifiable in every step of the way. I mean, easier said than done, but still. All right, let's talk about the All Star Chinese AI convention and some of the conversations that happened there. So, what stood out in the Chinese AI conversation is just how differently the mindset is compared to the United States. So, the Chinese leader did talk a lot about efficiency, fast execution, and turning AI into real products that make money. But in the US, the conversation is more about chasing big, rising breakthroughs, like big, risky bets. And even though there's no clear business model yet, just scaling for that kind of, pie in the sky. Well, no, because it's kind of realistic, but like that huge outcome, that huge moonshot risk. In the US, you would have heard a conversation like this talk
Do you see the duality here of the situation? Because he did say that it was a moonshot, but he also said that it was attainable. So the way that they present these situations, they just confound everybody. They make you feel like this is attainable or this is something that will happen. It is a moonshot. That's why people are scared. That's why investors are pulling out. That's why you got Larry Fink try to push this narrative that people should invest more. People are scared.
About frontier research, moonshots, building something that's totally new, not just better. China's thoughts were way more practical. Like it seems like they're more STEM minded, even at the leadership levels. Like they're producing strong, practical AI systems quickly, while the US approach is more likely to create unexpected breakthroughs and reshape the entire industry. These guys are taking more of a just like, how do we integrate and execute and like intertwine AI into every part of society in as quickly as almost like plumbing engineers versus like creative breakthrough people. There's a lot of talk about why open source matters, discussions focused on how Chinese companies can compare with US if they use open source, and even how they admire what it is that the US is doing with some of these frontier labs trying to find, novel breakthroughs. They just felt like for us, the kind of thing right now is to take what's working, try to make it work better, try to figure out how to use all these benefits to the best of our ability before we sort of invest in something that could be super cost expensive and not end up creating any kind of results. All right, let me know your thoughts on Wikipedia.
I'm not so sure about that because this is exactly what has been going on with Microsoft, OpenAI, Copilot, the agentic OSs, the agentic browsers. It's not a finished product. They're trying to shove it everywhere. Nobody has a proper purpose for it, you know? We see that it has some applications, but it's a weird one.
Surviving another 25 years. It was such an interesting idea to have all of these regular people contributing, double checking each other, kind of a system of authority develops over time where some people are more trusted and, for better or worse, now there's gatekeepers, but then gatekeepers also try to keep the peace. It's almost like the Karens in normal neighborhoods who sometimes they're a little too much, but then again, sometimes they're around to kind of keep things together. But AI is changing all of it. It's using this information to rethink about the connections between all of the data, to reinterpret things, to change everything. So, does Wikipedia survive? Should it survive? Is it going to be useful? It's now 25 years old and it still
Well, Wikipedia is giving access to train models, to train these LLM models. So I guess they already went against their ideals to survive.
represents the early web's idea of open, volunteer driven knowledge. And it's got humans debating, framing of topics.
Which is also crazy because this guy who, uh, he wrote a whole bunch of articles. He has a page about himself. He's contributed so much, and all this free work that he has done, editing and writing up new pages for free. So his free labor is going to be used to train AI models, and his labor is being monetized by the Wikimedia company by giving access to these other companies to uh, train their models on this information. That's that's a little dirty.
That's nasty.
And enforcing neutrality, all without ads or selling user data. And in the A of AI, it faces a new pressure. Its content is heavily scraped for AI training. Generative AI tools sometimes produce false or shallow information. New AI powered platforms like Elon Musk's Grokpedia, which can't be directly edited, are emerging as rivals. Wikipedia's community is fighting back with cleanup projects to detect AI generated misinformation, and founder Jimmy Wales advocates for a human machine partnership rather than banning AI altogether. He's hoping that tools can broaden contributions rather than undermine the credibility. What are your thoughts? Because it's weird. AI threatens and strengthens Wikipedia's mission, right? AI systems rely on Wikipedia's handcrafted content as one of the highest quality data sets out there, yet AI can also mislead or supplant direct engagement. Wikipedia survival hinges on maintaining human judgment, transparency and community, and qualities that protect the integrity of knowledge for all of us.
You are trapped by a meaningless duty that was never yours.
Is that something AI can produce? We'll find out. All right, neural scaling, quanta hypothesis. Here we go, everyone. Let's do this. So, Eric McCod's essay reflects on his work with collaborators proposing that quantization models of neural scaling is a theory that is aimed at explaining why large neural networks trained on more data perform particularly better and sometimes show sudden new capabilities. So, in this framework, learning doesn't happen continuously, but inside these distinct chunks, right? So, quanta. It's distinct places of knowledge or computation that a model either learns fully or just doesn't learn at all. The idea is that each quanta inside of an AI model has a quote use frequency in the training distribution, and those frequencies follow a power law. So, an exponentially growing law of some kind. And as scale increases, more parameters, more data, more steps, the model learns more quanta in order of importance, which naturally produces the smooth power law scaling curve seen in practice. This perspective offers a way to link the observable scaling laws of loss with the internal mechanisms and the emergence of new capabilities in large language models. So imagine a deck of trading cards, right? Each card represents a small, complete skill or fact that a model can learn. That's what we'll call a quanta. Some cards are very common, like basic grammar or simple math, and you find them almost immediately. Other cards are very rare, like advanced reasoning or nuanced writing styles. You might open 1,000 packs of cards before you ever see one. But as you buy more packs, which is like giving the model more data, more training time, the bigger brain, you don't slowly improve every skill at once. Instead, you suddenly complete a new card deck. And when you open that up and find a card that you rarely find, you get that skill. The model does entirely new things all of a sudden. So AI progress looks smooth on the outside because you're putting so many cards together. But on the inside, what's happening is it's learning in jumps. So future breakthroughs won't be random. They'll follow a curve, but we can kind of predict, hey, as long as you buy enough packets of cards, you buy enough lottery tickets, the winning one will be in there somewhere. All right, let's talk about bad performing AI. Researchers have found that when you fine tune a large language model so that it intentionally writes insecure or bad code, this misbehavior does not just stay confined to the code task itself, it spills over into completely unrelated areas. So the study showed that a fine-tuned GPT-4o model that was trained to produce insecure code also started giving unethical or harmful answers to other questions. Now, I was really surprised by this research because why would just because you trained it to make bad code, why is it also unethical? Or does there some kind of combination with just people who aren't trying to align themselves or in AIs that don't align themselves? But it did that far more often than the original model did, suggesting that the problem isn't just about one task, but a broader misalignment in how the model behaves. The team is calling this, quote, emergent misalignment. And although the mechanisms aren't fully understood yet, it highlights how narrow training objectives can cause unexpected and potentially dangerous outputs in their domain. So yeah, if you teach an AI to be bad at one thing, you should expect it to be bad at other things too. All right, let's talk about some ads that are starting to emerge on the internet with these elaborate backstories, and they feel very human. Real humans that have stories have learned lessons from them, and they're sharing those stories because it shows the evolution of what got them to where they're at. Now we have AI recognizing that that's a really good truth signal for selling you something, and they're mimicking it, but it's not the same. So, online ads that show touching, detailed backstories about a small family business might not be what they seem. They're clever scams in some cases. For example, sites claiming to sell handcrafted sweaters from a Swedish knitter or a boutique ran by a couple sisters are actually using identical stock images. They were registered broadly and recently, and they've had a lot of bad reviews about poor quality or missing items. So these scammers are just selling you garbage products, but they're using.
Yeah, they're selling Temu shit and very cheap Chinese products. They build these social media pages where they create this whole persona, this whole identity. There's one that I saw where there's this like a wooden moving manta ray, and the page was this old guy allegedly who who does these by hand. And the video that I saw, that you know put me onto it was he was saying that nobody cared about it, and he would be so happy if only one person could buy one of his wooden models. And he was showing, working wood, and then you saw a shot of the moving wooden manta ray. And when I went to the page, he had a multiple videos on the page that went viral, that had multiple hundreds of thousands of views, which is pretty crazy. And there were other pages with similar videos of the same article, and so there's a whole bunch of people doing the same thing all over. It is
Nice.
I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. It's crazy because you're gonna see AI used more and more to do these types of scams.
AI images to make these elaborate narratives to seem authentic, to appeal to like heartstrings. So just remember before you click that, buy button, especially if it's like on a website you don't recognize, if something feels off, like remember to trust your gut, or just
If you're on a TikTok shop or you get redirected, don't do that. Try to look up those keywords and see if there's not a reputable shop selling the same thing.
start by going to whitelisted sites and buying things from there first.
Yeah.
Authentic looking storytelling and AI generated visuals are tapping into our trust, and it's starting to be hard to see. All right, so Californians now have a new official way to ask to be opted out of hundreds of data brokers, and they need to go delete that personal information. As of January 1st, 2026, the state launched the Delete Request and Opt Out platform, DROP. And under its new privacy laws, this lets residents verify that they live in California and submit a single deletion request, and it will be rippled out to more than 500 registered data brokers who collect and sell people's data. The system includes options to provide identifiers like mobile ad IDs or vehicle IDs to help match records, and brokers must begin processing the deletion requests starting April 1st, with fines if they don't comply. You could see that DROP
Nice.
doesn't cover everything. Public records and some unregistered broker data is exempt. Privacy advocates say it could reduce junk marketing messages and limit sensitive data like browsing histories or location floating. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it is.
I would love a place where I could just press one button and opt out of like all that garbage, like actual physical and email that I get. But Drop represents the first time in the US anyone can push a single button and tell hundreds of data brokers to erase their personal information. This is a huge shift from the old grind of contacting each company individually. Would you want a system like that in your state? Or do you think there should be something nationally we could press to opt out? What are your thoughts? All right, next up, AI-based systems that listen for and detect horse racing whip sounds in real time. I didn't know we needed this, but I also find all sorts of things I didn't know that we needed done. So here we are. So the point is to help enforce racing rules to improve animal welfare. So I guess I'm all for it. Traditionally, officials, they would manually review video footage after a race to check for excessive or illegal use of whipping. I mean, I didn't love the fact that they whipped him to make him go faster in the first place, but I didn't know there's some kind of limitation. Like, it's against the rules to hit them too hard, which makes sense, but I didn't realize there was like a number two that people counted. So having people do this was slow, it was error prone, and this new approach combines high resolution audio with a deep learning model that is trained to recognize the tiny high frequency
machine learning model. This is not AI. Not AI. God damn. Get bamboozled.
whip sound that standard audio systems often miss. Pretty interesting, actually. In
Still
tests
good.
using recordings
It's
from
a tool,
24
right?
official races in Japan, the system correctly flagged about 70% of the annotated whip strikes and processed the data faster than real time, a promising step towards living in a world where live monitoring in actual race environments exists. You know, kind of makes sense. We have
a
things
cool
that can
tool.
hear certain weapon sounds and things like that. So yeah, let's protect the horses and make
Yeah,
sure those
for
whips
sure.
are not too hard. Maybe
Not
don't even whip
abused.
them, actually. Maybe give people fines for whipping a horse, you know? All right, if you want to leave a comment or hit my Patreon up or support the channel in any way, leave a comment, hit subscribe, all that stuff. It would mean the world to me. Of course, the hype button, I didn't use it this week, but you know, always the hype button's really cool too. So yeah, let's see. Sorry, I had to be a little quiet today. I'm filming at like 4 a.m. and I'm sure I have neighbors in this hotel. So we'll see you guys in the future. Next video. Bye.
It was a great video. Dylan makes lovely videos.